Hey everyone, going live on Patreon. Um, for today's live show, I'm running a couple minutes late or 5 minutes late on this one. Sorry about that. I was shooting tomorrow's video, 31 on 31, talking about a bunch of action movies. And it's talking about 31 movies, so it's just a very, very long shoot. And when you have very long shoots, sometimes you run behind, as I did today. So sorry about that. But I am here now, ready to talk movies with you. Whatever you want to talk about, I am here to talk with you. Whenever some people, there we go. First person has joined in, Gamerman. Hey, Sean, it makes me feel better. It's the internet. You really can't have any opinions anymore. They're a lot better than some of the people out there who said the Amazing Spider-Man is better than Raimi's. Yeah, I don't hold to the opinion. I like Raimi's more, but I also try to respect other people's opinions. People have different thoughts on all kinds of different things. Jackson, hey Sean, Space Force was so funny I forgot to laugh. Yeah. Oh man, Space Force. Yeah. My wife and I watched the first episode. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this, but I'm morbidly curious. I'll kind of keep going. And wow. We did not like it. Watched the whole thing and did not like it. Like at all. Like not one bit. Nothing about it. Majestic Demon, good afternoon, Mr. Chandler. How are you? I'm doing good. Don't have the kids this weekend. So that's our first time in months that we haven't had the kids. They're at their grandparents and even the baby. They don't normally take the baby because the baby is just too young and frustrations with babies. So we always kept the baby and they would take our two older kids. This weekend, they actually took all three. So this is like our first time without kids and freedom a little bit. So it's been kind of nice. Rich Reviews, how would a Sean Chandler presidency save us all from all this chaos? I think that's I don't think there is a simple solution to how to save us from all this chaos. It's not like anyone that wants to like point the finger at one thing. It's not one thing. It's like hundreds of years of pieces all kind of put in place that have made for very complex situations that do not have simple solutions to them. And no one president has been the savior. Everyone, we got to get our guy elected. If we do, everything will be better. And it hasn't played out that way. We've got riots now under Trump. There were riots. Then there was Obama over stuff. I'm back. Hopefully, I don't know. My internet. Hopefully, I'm back. My internet is back. See if my wife's streaming. Tell her to stop. Sorry, I'm trying to fix my internet situation. And in theory, an Ethernet cable would help, but setting up an Ethernet cable on a Mac is not an easy thing to do. Jess, have you started watching Space Force? I've started and finished watching Space Force. We've watched all of it. I did not like it one bit. Not one bit. I didn't like anything about it. And I was shocked at how bad parts of it were. Like anything with his wife and daughter, just terrible. Even the basic premise of it, I didn't think that they found the jokes. Like their jokes seemed to be Trump tweeted. That's it. Like that's the punchline to the joke is like to observe the fact that Trump uses Twitter. And so it was shocking to me how bad it was. Landon, hey Sean, in your latest video, you were talking about the DC animated movies. Are those canon? Meaning if someone dies, they are dead for the rest of the movies? There's a canon there. There is a canon that started with Flashpoint Paradox and it ended with Apocalypse War. So I think there's 13 movies in it that are that are canon to themselves. Ryan Green, who would you want to see direct a Star Wars film? Brad Bird. Brad Bird is one that immediately comes to mind. I believe I have a video out there where I basically brainstormed who I would want to direct episode 9 from whenever Colin Trevorrow dropped out. And so I think that one elaborates on more people. But off the top of my head, Brad Bird comes to mind. I used to say Jon Favreau, but then he did The Mandalorian, and I was right. That was a good pick. Joe Johnston, one that Griffin and I always talk about on the podcast. And yeah, those are some that kind of come to mind. Movie Lover 999, favorite Tom Hanks performance? Probably Forrest Gump is the one that's always going to be nearest and dearest to my heart. It's one of the first serious movies that I watched, saw, enjoyed. So it's always going to be kind of a special place in my heart. Lost my spot. Are there any movies you've seen over 100 times, not counting things your kids made you watch? I don't know. I mean, it's not like I don't keep track of things like that, so I wouldn't know. I don't think so. I don't, because you just do the math on that. What movie would I have watched that number of times every single year for the last 30 years? What movie did I watch 3 times per year for the last 30 years? I can't think of a movie I did that, so I don't believe so. David Patterson, I'm watching this in a VR headset. Oh man, that's got to be crazy and weird. That's got to be wild. I've never done anything like that. Richard Reeves, my sister actually loves Space Force. Watched The Vast of the Night, which I admired it more than I loved. I don't even know what's to love about Space Force. I don't know what. That's cool, but I don't know what one would love about it. Majestic Demon. So I uncovered a hidden treasure on Blu-ray at my local store. You may have heard of it. It's called Warrior. I'm so happy to find it. I have heard of the movie Warrior. Red Sox teacher, hey Sean, are you an X-Files fan? If so, I think you would ever do a top 10 episodes show. Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of I was both a fan from when it first started, but also my mom was very weary of us watching the show because, certain episodes she'd be totally fine with. And then the next one, it would be like, they're sacrificing chickens or something like that. And she'd be like, you guys shouldn't watch this show. Or the episode Home would come on and you're like, kids don't watch this show. And so, yeah, I was watched basically from the first season with my sister. And then I saw the first movie or both movies in the theaters opening weekend. Would I ever do a top 10 episodes? I'm not sure if I would. It's not a show that I've rewatched as much. It's one that was like, I loved watching through it, have rewatched through it, but it's not one that I have recently gone back through. So it's in kind of that tough spot of, would I be able to honestly do that? Or would I just be like, sometimes like to do videos like that, I always do research, like what are other people saying to make sure I don't forget about something obvious. And with one like that, I would feel like I would be just doing other people's lists. I've already listed some off. I forget, Glenn Morgan, he wrote the funny episodes, the Clyde's Last Repose, Bad Blood, like, so those are some that come to mind. All of those season 2, 3, 4 alien conspiracy mythology episodes were great. The one where Mulder was like lost faith and they were faking, like all of that, a bunch of that stuff. Last 4 seasons, I don't think I had a lot of favorites in there. Gamerman, I sent you my full how to fix in Infinite Earths can be fixed with 5 parts, even though I kind of did my own thing. Yeah, I saw it on I believe it was Facebook where you sent that to me. I've seen that. Yeah, that's honestly, I think that's what you have to do. I don't think you can fix what they did because the strategy for it is just bad. I think it was very ill-conceived. And it kind of put a sour taste in my mouth. I mean, really did. Just the concept of destroying all these universes that were like these movies that I grew up watching. That doesn't like make me go, oh, that's cool that show is now gone from the multiverse. So very weird. Matthew K, follow up on Space Force. Why did you watch through the whole season? I don't know. It's just kind of one of those weird morbid curiosity things. So we watched the first episode and we went, I immediately I was skeptical going into it. I just it felt like one of these ideas that just really wouldn't work. It's a funny idea in a pitch meeting where you go, oh man, Trump just announced Space Force. Wouldn't it be hilarious if the guy that did The Office got Steve Carell and they did a Space Force TV show? But then as soon as you start to like, what would the show actually be? You go, I don't, there's nothing actually to spoof there because it's not a thing that exists enough, that's doing enough to actually to spoof it or make any sense out of it. So it always seemed like a really bad idea to me. And it felt like lazy Hollywood that doesn't like Trump taking cheap shots without being clever. Like there's not, like it's real obvious to say the guy that did The Office doing Space Force and then casting Steve Carell. It's not even clever or inspired. I was very skeptical going into it. The first episode affirmed all my skepticism, but we didn't have kids last night, so I was like, all right, let's watch another one. And then it was kind of like I was doing some editing, some stuff. So it was like I wanted something light in the background that I wasn't too invested in, that I didn't need to like pay super close attention to. And so we kept like kind of watching for that reason. And then they started making some of these choices with stuff that was going on with his wife and his daughter. And I was like, this is like a train wreck I can't stop watching. And so then once we got to like episode 5, it's like, okay, or 5 or 6 or something, it was like, okay, we're almost done. We might as well just keep going. It was kind of one of those deals of like, okay, we're invested enough. Let's just see how bad this thing gets. And so it was like a morbid curiosity thing, but I did not. Not good. Damian O'Reilly, sent you Best of the Best and Best of the Two in Blu-ray in the mail. Not sure they'll work in the United States, but it'll be nice to have them in your collection. Awesome. Thank you. As context for this particular one, I talked with him, did a video chat with him yesterday, and we talked about those movies and how I was looking into them and how they're not in the United States. You can't get them in the United States. And so the fact that you would like them purchase that, thanks, man. That is awesome. That is very cool. Thank you. That's awesome. I look forward to seeing sports movie and violent movie back to back. Very cool, man. Very, very cool. Jack Barlow, are you a fan of Wes Anderson movies? Yeah, I mean, I loved Wes Anderson. Like a window there where I loved him. I like right when I was getting into movies and discovering, wait, there's stuff besides blockbusters, was when like Memento came out and Jason Schwartzman, his second movie, the one between Bottle Rocket and Rushmore. Like Rushmore was coming out at this point in time. And then right as I was really in my wave of kind of indie smaller stuff, Royal Tenenbaums came out. So I love that stuff. Life Aquatic kind of made me go, I'm not as crazy about all of this. And so I haven't tracked with his more recent stuff as much. But I loved Bottle Rocket, Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums back in the day. And whenever his new movie comes out, I do plan on do a ranking of his movies and the ones I haven't seen, catch up on them and everything. Anton, are you going to do any video game reviews anytime soon? What games would you review? So I think 2 weeks from today, I'm doing a ranking of the Uncharted games. I basically played through them and finished them a month ago, but the second one, or the first 4, the main 4, but the second one, I'd lost my data. And so that kind of, I was like, all right, I really need to finish it, or should I need to find a way to like be able to know what the end of the game is. And then the buddy that I'm doing with, Cody Leach, is also going to rank them. And so he played through the spin-off game, and he said, hey, I'm going to do the spin-off game too. So I was like, okay, I'll get the spin-off game. And then in the process of buying the spin-off game, I discovered some stuff about my Xbox, and I had a backup of my Uncharted 2 saved game on the internet that was at like 33%. And so it wasn't having to start over from 0. So then I played through Uncharted and finished it this week. So all that to say that there's something there. Uncharted is coming very soon. Actual game reviews, I don't have anything planned until Avengers. So that's 3-4 months away. Avengers is the next game I have planned. I bought the first Last of Us game thinking maybe I'd play through it and then I would hop on and grab the second. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. I'm not sure. We'll see how the universe plays out. I don't think it's going to happen in time, though. So next video game video will be Uncharted ranked. next video game review probably will be Avengers. Devin Patterson, I watched all the Alien movies. Alien was best. Very cool, very cool. Not terribly surprised that's the one you went with. Did you watch any of the Johnny English films starring Rowan Atkins? Actually, I haven't. I've seen any of them. I've seen zero of them. It's very possible that right around when No Time to Die comes out, that I'll do like a whole like block that week out for James Bond and James Bond parodies. So Johnny English, Austin Powers. I'm thinking I'm going to do all of that. Richard Price, Home was probably the scariest TV episode I've ever seen. Yeah, it is freaky. It's gross. It's like, I mean, it is. Yeah. If you guys, any of you don't, he's referring to an episode of the X-Files that, man, they did this one that they were like, we're not afraid to go for it. And I mean, you think of the stuff that'll make people mad and boycott your show, and they put all of it into this one episode. It's like great television / horrifying. Christian Arnold, have you seen Mystery Science Theater 3000? Yeah, back, I mean, in its original run, back in the 90s, my buddies and I were all into it. It would come on at like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night on Saturdays. And so parents would go to bed and we'd go downstairs and watch it. And then Mystery Science Theater 3000, the movie came out. And you know, we were all super into it. I haven't watched any of the new stuff, the recent stuff. It's just not my thing at this point in time, but absolutely. I've spent a lot of time watching, Mystery Science Theater 3000 back in the day. Majestic Demon, I watched all 3 How to Train Your Dragon movies for the first time ever this past week. I can't believe I've never watched them all before. All 3 movies are incredible. It's a great trilogy. I was pretty slow to watching it too. You know, there's just no reason in the year 2010 that I would have gone to go see something like that. And then likewise, when the second one came out, I was into the right phase of life. And then by the time the third one came out, I was like right in the phase of life of having, you know, kids that like, not only did they love the first 2 movies, they watched the TV show on Netflix all the time. And so then the third one was, you know, right up our alley to go see it. Gamerman, say what you want about the Smallville crisis scene, but that's what finally made me want to watch Smallville. How much does this add up to with the show? I heard that this erases the season 11 comics. I don't know. I don't remember. So what's really cool about season 11, if you don't know what he's talking about, after Smallville went off the air, they did a season 11 comic book series. And what was cool about it is that it was Batman. So there's in the comics, it's Superman, Tom Welling, Superman with Clark Kent, with Batman. And so I somewhere, it was one of the first comics I ever got on like the Kindle or Comixology app was Smallville season 11. And, you know, it was 8 years ago or something like that. So I don't remember exactly how it played out, but the big standout was like, they really did kind of expand this version of Superman, and we got to meet their Clark Kent. So the idea that then that's the stuff that's kind of distasteful to me, that all that kind of getting erased by all of it. Matthew McLaughlin, what's your favorite Happy Madison production? I was Wedding Singer Happy Madison. Let me check that one. It's probably that one. Let me look this up real quick. Nothing from the last 10 years. Definitely that. Production company. Nope, it is not. Let me look this up so I can give you the proper answer that is not just an Adam Sandler movie, but Happy Madison. In which case, looks like we'll go with Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore is probably how jumps her career. Well, is it? It's giving me. Okay, no, excuse me. All of them are afterwards. I don't know. I don't know what I would go with actual technical Happy Madison. So I haven't seen Reign Over Me, so I can't include that one. Heard good things about that one. None of this stuff from the last 10 years. And there's some of the Kevin James stuff I've been fine with. Like Here Comes the Boom wasn't too bad. So I guess I'd have to go with pick one of these ones from while it was Click in there. Click, kind of dug Click. Anger Management, kind of dug that one. But I like I guess it's to say I like the Happy Madison, Adam Sandler stuff more than the Happy Madison stuff. Ryan Green, I'm not sure if you've done a video on this, but what would you want to see in Phase 4 of the MCU? I don't normally approach it that way. Like I could say it about a specific movie, what I want to see done. But I like when I know the movies that are in Phase 4 and then being like, what do I want to see? It's not exactly the way I think about it. I'll say this. What I really appreciate about what they are doing with Phase 4 is that they're experimenting again. That they're not trying to play it safe. They are like, let's do Shang-Chi and let's do the Eternals. And it's getting weird and we're getting new things again. As much as in a certain sense, if it was a safer bet, like I'm more inherently interested in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 specifically speaking, because I know what it is. And I'm not sure exactly what Eternals will be. But in the broad general sense, I'm excited that they're doing things different and trying things. So I want them to take risks, expand the universe, and not just play it safe. So that's what I appreciate about what they're doing. Where I'm confused is I don't really at all have an idea what the through line is, though. So I wish that it had a through line that it was more clear to me what that is. And what I mean by that is that you very much knew that Phase 3 was about the Avengers collapsing and then Thanos showing up and them having to come back together. And you kind of knew that from the get-go because they'd already teased Thanos and the Civil War broke them up. But I don't have any clue what they're doing or anything like that. Matthew K., you may have talked about this, but did you watch any of the new Greg Daniels show Upload? I really enjoyed that one. No, my wife wanted me to. She brought it up, but we just haven't yet. I spent the month working on this 31 on 31 video. So I had 31 action movies I needed to watch recently. And I had months to like prep for it, but then I thought I was going to do other things and I was enjoying not having to watch things. And then it still got to the point I was like, oh man, I got to rush through a whole bunch of these. And so that kind of caused some trouble for me. So my wife has mentioned it. I'm aware of it. I just haven't watched it yet. Movie Lover 999. Are you excited for Scream 5? I don't know yet. I don't know. The team that the Ready or Not people seem like good. That seems like a good fit to me and some new blood. So I like that. What I keep saying is that I'm very nervous because what made the first Scream so good and work was that it was a commentary on the previous 10 years of horror films. It like spoofed them in a certain sense, but it also was one of them. It was both a love letter and a deconstruction of its own genre. And then the second one was a deconstruction of sequels in the genre. So it worked really well. And I didn't think 4 captured that. It captured being a Scream movie, but it didn't capture the criticism part or the deconstruction, the love letter of what just happened in the genre. So I need to know how it's going to do that thing, because otherwise, like, you can't just do another Scream movie and it work. It has to be that commentary for it to really capture the magic of the first 2. Cody Case, are you a fan of Chris Evans movies? I find it to be a kind of a weird question because Chris Evans, like, if the question is, are you a fan of Chris Evans the actor? Yes. Chris Evans movies isn't a brand though. And that's what I mean by that. Of Chris Evans has an incredibly diverse filmography. He's been very wise and I'm pretty sure very intentional with his career. I was first introduced to him with Not Another Teen Movie. I mean, like, parody of one of these parody movies. It was hard R raunchy comedy. Then he was Human Torch, so he's like the douchey frat boy. And then he was in the movie Sunshine that was like a serious Danny Boyle science fiction movie with some horror elements to it. That's 3 very different movies. And then he's Captain America. And of course, that's the thing he's most known for obvious reasons. And he did that so well. But in the middle of all of his Captain America fame, does Snowpiercer. Totally different character. Very different character. They're very, very different type of film. And so I wouldn't say that Chris Evans movies are a category that I could say like, because there's some things in there that I'm just not interested in. And then he's in Knives Out, playing a totally different type of character. In fact, even as I'm saying this, he's probably, while being this A-lister that's beloved because of Captain America, he's very probably underappreciated as an actor because we don't stop to realize just how diverse he is and how many different things he can do really well. Because he's great in Knives Out, playing a character that's totally opposite of Steve Rogers. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it gives you a lot of my Chris Evans thoughts. Matt G, will we ever see a Justice League 2? I really don't know, because it seems like the DC movies have really found their stride. Maybe you haven't liked one of the last movies they've done over the last few years, but they're doing really well with critics and audiences and at the box office, other than Birds of Prey, which did great with critics. The people that saw it seemed to mostly really enjoy it. So it's tough to say. And their strategy is like, let's just focus in on making this movie good. Let's focus in on doing the standalone Joker thing, or we're going to do a Batman movie unrelated to everything else. They're not seeming to look to want to do team up movies at this time. And Henry Cavill's coming back into the mix, but they said it's for like cameos in other movies. And their version of the Batman they're doing now seems to be totally different. So I don't even know what it would mean at this point in time for them to do another Justice League movie. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Maybe they'll put out the Snyder cut and everyone will be like, that was amazing. Bring this man back and who knows? I'm sure the reaction to the Snyder cut it'll be on par with either Batman v Superman or Man of Steel. And I don't expect it to be one that 90% of Rotten Tomatoes or anything like that. He's a divisive filmmaker. Rich Reviews, thoughts on Tom Cruise being filming. Thoughts on Tom Cruise film being set on the ISS. Cool. I don't know that I fully understand the purpose of the gimmick, because technology is to a point where you don't need to do that. So I don't know why they are doing that, other than to go, we filmed in space. Doug Liman's directing it. That's the thing that's more interesting to me. Tom Cruise and Doug Liman lining up. I don't really dig Doug Liman. I think he does very fun adventure films. He the types of movies, most of all the movies he makes line up right with stuff that I like. Red Sox teacher, I would like to start watching Jackie Chan movies. Which of his movies would you recommend to start with? So if you haven't watched any Jackie Chan, if you're just starting off, I'll just kind of walk you through a little bit of a path here. You want to start off as mainstream as possible. So his biggest thing is Rush Hour. And if you like Rush Hour, you can follow it up with Shanghai Noon or Rush Hour 2. If you like Owen Wilson, maybe even start with Shanghai Noon, or if you like Westerns, because it's Jackie Chan with Owen Wilson, buddy comedy in the Old West. Walton Goggins is in it. So if you like Owen Wilson, go in that direction. If you like Chris Tucker, go with the Rush Hour direction. So those are the most accessible. And if you want to see a more serious Jackie Chan movie, check out The Foreigner from about 3 years back. It's from Martin Campbell, directed Casino Royale, Edge of Darkness, GoldenEye, Mask of Zorro, and it also has Pierce Brosnan. And so it's a little bit more Pierce Brosnan movie, but very prominent. The Foreigner himself in it is Jackie Chan. So you see a serious Jackie Chan. So those are more kind of mainstream Hollywood type films. If you want to go deeper than that, one that I thought was pretty accessible of his Asian films was Operation Condor. It's not the best example of his martial arts skills. It doesn't have his best choreography, but it's like an Indiana Jones style adventure, except with Asian comedy styling to a Jackie Chan sense of humor. So it's more accessible than some of his other stuff. And then a couple of one of my favorite ones is Police Story. If you saw this interview that I did yesterday with the director of Extraction, he talked about the movie Police Story in it. And as soon as he said Police Story, I was like, that's the one that I love too. It has a harder edge to it. The movie itself, the story is a little bit harder to watch. It's not fully as accessible. It's not like a Hollywood quality script in kind of the way that it's done. The fight choreography, though, is just phenomenal. It's my favorite fight choreography from Jackie Chan is Police Story, the first one. The second one has the same style of choreography, but the script is even harder to track with. And then Drunken Master 2, or as it's called in the United States, Legend of Drunken Master. Amazing choreography. Once again, a little bit tough to follow because it's not really the way a Hollywood script would be written. Amazing, incredible fight choreography in it. Artist, do you have a favorite Ron Howard movie? Let me look at this up, bro. See if I'm missing one. I don't think I have like a standout one that is just, I like Apollo 13 is probably going to be the one that I have the most nostalgia for because it's one of those mid 90s movies when I was really getting into movies and serious stuff. And so it's like, oh, I saw a serious movie. So that's the one that's going to come to mind, I think, is mine. Like I've a lot of nostalgia for Willow, but I don't think I would say that Willow is a favorite. I don't think it's a totally great film. Beautiful Mind's really good, but I've only watched it a handful of times. Rush was great, but I only watched it. I watched it one time actually in the hospital after my daughter was born, where you're in the hospital for a couple of days with your newborn, and sorry, I read the next question. I posted the next question up, and so my brain started thinking about this different question. So we were in the hospital when my daughter Chloe was born in 2014, and we watched Rush, his race car movie with Daniel Bruhl and Chris Hemsworth, and then Pacific Rim, both which of movies are meant to be seen on a big screen, and we watched them on a little laptop in a hospital bed. Majestic Demon, I'm curious what happened to your How to Fix videos. Did they just come to assume time because of the quarantine? I mean, we're still in quarantine, so that would still be that's still on the table. No, it's not that at all. They're just harder videos to make, and there certain movies are pretty easy for me to do them for. The two that I did were two of the easier ones because I immediately could think to myself, I would fix this if I made Anakin younger. I would fix this if you had two plots going at the same time and have Qui-Gon go over here so Obi-Wan is with Anakin. And so you can have the romance because Anakin's older and he's the right age with Padme to have the romance in the first film. And what if you move the start of the Clone Wars to this movie? Like I could just do that in my head. Whereas like Attack of the Clones, I want to do all the prequels. I think you have to do a whole new story. And with my fix for Phantom Menace, it's a whole new story. So it's a lot more writing. So I probably should keep that series going because I need to find a couple easy ones to do that are kind of like that, or I just need to just hang around and pick a day and just make it happen on the Attack of the Clones one. Like I think I have the story in my head that I want, but fine tuning, actually putting pen to paper is the tricky part because it's legitimate writing at a certain point in time. It's not just, oh, I would do this instead of this. It's like, okay, I just need a different story here because I already changed things up so much. But it just takes a lot of time. Matthew, do your kids love movies as much as you do? We're like a movie family because of what I do. And so they've been introduced to a lot more movies than most kids their age have been. And talk about movies more than probably most kids their age. And, they're into nerdy things. And some of that's from me and some of that's they've discovered their own stuff. It's tough to say when you're dealing with a 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old, how they compare to my love for movies because they're just in a world where, of course, movies are all around them because that's so much of what my life is. So, but of course, they're into them too. WWE Enemy, did you watch any of the Simpsons episodes? Yeah, all growing up, I watched The Simpsons, so I've seen the first 10 seasons or so, probably multiple times, watched all the time. But then, whenever I kind of hit adult life, I just moved on. It wasn't like I got bored with it, and it's not like I thought it got bad or anything like that. I just stopped watching them. All right, I'm way far behind. Gamerman, if I was to do Smallville cameo on Crisis, I would have had Clark interact with Oliver, Barry, Kara instead of AV, Clark, and Lois, Iris, and Lex all throughout. It makes sense since Stephen Amell wasn't. There we go. So the next one. Fan of Smallville when John Cryer was. I just do it different. I think what they did was a perfectly fine scene. If they hadn't announced it, if it was just in a different episode, if they hadn't made a big deal of it, maybe it would have worked for me. But it just what they did, like I liked the scene, but it just did not satisfy. Rich reviews. If the David E. Kelly led Lincoln Lawyer series were to somehow land on Amazon, who would you cast as Mickey Holler? I really don't know. I am. I think we talked about this before. I thought we talked about this on our chat. The Mickey Haller character feels like someone that anyone could play. He's not someone that has a very super distinct personality that you need this type of actor. A lot of different kind of charismatic guys can kind of play that type of back and forth. So I really don't have someone that I would pick. Dear President, I watched Jaws last week after this week's. I watched Jaws. If you weren't here at the beginning of this one, I filmed my 31 on 31 review right before this. So I literally shot a video where I ranked 31 movies, tried to come up with a 45-second review for 31 movies. As soon as it was done, like I was 2 minutes, I finished that at like 2:02 my time, jumped right on here. So I've been literally talking for about 2 hours straight now. So my brain's fried. Dan Bradson, I watched Jaws last week after last week's stream. It is currently my number 5 favorite movie. Not surprised. It's a great movie, and it seems like one that you would love. So that's glad that you enjoyed it. I know I love it too, and so very cool. WE what's your least favorite movie genre? I don't know that I would say that I have a genre that's my least favorite. Like I'm not into musicals, but then again, I love The Lion King, a lot of the Disney ones. I don't default to thinking of them as musicals, though they obviously are. Maybe live action musicals. Maybe that's a better way to phrase that. But it's not like I was totally fine with La La Land, and I'm going to check out Sing Street pretty soon with my wife, and I'm excited to do it. So I don't really, I enjoy movies. And so I think of movies as like in that regard more so than like this. I like this genre, not that genre. I like all kinds of movies. So I don't tend to be a classics kind of person. Just the pacing, the style of the acting, the types of things they did for entertainment. I'm not big on classics, but that's not really a genre. Have you ever thought about watching Avatar: The Last Airbender? People ask me about it all the time. I mean, so for that reason, I've thought about it. But would I say that it's one of those ones that like the people that grew up watching it love it, and so they want me to check it out, but it just doesn't feel like something I would naturally default towards myself. W, what's your favorite sitcom? Seinfeld? I'm not positive. I don't normally keep like lists of things like that. As much as I'm the list guy and do favorites and top tens, I don't actually just by default have opinions like that. I have to like think about them and create those lists and videos. Daniel Patterson, have you seen Okja? It's a Netflix original from Bong Joon-ho. I thought the first 90 minutes were great, but the last 20 really didn't work for me. I've only seen Snowpiercer and Parasite from him. Those are the only two that I've seen. Matthew Gay, have you seen the YouTube series Epic Rap Battles of History? Check it out. If you haven't, it's my favorite thing on here aside from you. Nice choice. I've seen some of the absolutely. I don't remember which ones or what point in time, but they're what they pop up in my feed and have for years now. And from time to time, if they have one that like, oh, what's this one? I'll check them out. So I've definitely seen a lot of that. Christian Arnold, do you have a least favorite episode of The Office? Like Scott's Tots is one that I know by name that I don't rewatch, that it just went so far into the uncomfortable comedy that I just always skip it over when I rewatch it. But, my least favorite thing they ever did was the marital problems between Jim and Pam. And so the episode that ends with Jim and Pam having a fight, and then she gets a hug from Brian, the cameraman, that is my least favorite thing they ever did. And you can see interviews with John Krasinski and stuff that's come out over the last year where they've kind of been like kind of behind the scenes what they thought about that. And they watched it and they went, oh crap, what have we done? We need to undo this immediately. Like we really picked the wrong direction to go. And I would agree with them. They almost like legitimately. There's been 3 or 4 times when I'm watching TV shows that my wife and I like were totally invested in them, and we got to an episode and we went, if they don't undo this immediately, we're done. Like they did that with a show called One Tree Hill. There's like a mass shooting episode at a high school, and something happens at the end of the episode, and my wife and I will give it one more episode, and they don't fix this, we're done. And we stopped watching immediately with that, like, because they didn't undo it. Like they actually doubled down on the thing they did. That was like, I can't believe you just did that. And then with The Office, when they did this with Jim and Pam, we went, as much as we've watched the show, dedicated so much time and rewatched season 1 through 4, if they don't undo this immediately, we're not going to finish the show. And they did. They course corrected, but Movie Lover 999. Who's your favorite actor that played Batman and Superman? Batman, Christian Bale. I think Christian Bale's the one I would go with. I could go. I mean, it's entirely possible if depending on what they do with Justice League Snyder Cut, that I could go Batfleck, but Justice League as released really hurt Batfleck's legacy for me. I just didn't like the characterization there. But there's a lot of things I liked about Christian Bale, a lot of things I liked about Batfleck. Kevin Conroy, of course, Batman the Animated Series, and 1,000 other voice things he did. It is, of course, fantastic. Superman, I got to go Reeves. That's what I grew up with. He just does such a classic Superman so well. Gamerman, like you said, season 8 of Arrow was a waste because Catherine McNarman seems to have no interest in GNA, Green Arrow, and TC. I don't like that they forced this actress into of having a show you can even tell she has no interest. I mean, obviously, you've heard of my take on all this stuff. I was frustrated just in general with the direction they took things, but I'm not as familiar with the actress to know her body of work, to know what her interested versus not interested in something looks like. So that's not the direction I would necessarily go with that one. Red Sox teacher. I was a huge G.I. Joe fan as a kid. I have been disappointed with the live action movies that they've done. Do you think that they could still be a great live action G.I. Joe movie? It feels like it's set up to be a good franchise to do live action. You would think so. I do, and I agree with you. Like both of the G.I. Joe movies they did, I was like, why are these so? They should be schlocky, goofy, campy fun. And in the first one they were like in mech suits, and then the second one just seemed like they were just trying to course correct, and it didn't work. I don't know if you knew this, but they've already filmed a Snake Eyes movie that was supposed to come out in October. I don't know if it's still coming out, with Henry Golding as Snake Eyes in the lead. And so in theory, we have a G.I. Joe movie coming soon. I would think they'd be able to do it, but it's all about tone. Tone is like so important with trying to like how to make, like you don't want to take yourself too serious. You don't want to be too campy. So trying to find that right spot in the middle with it. So I would think so, but we'll see. Majestic Demon, do you think Vader's redemption in Return of the Jedi was the end game of movie finales until Endgame came out? No, because I think it gave a satisfying conclusion to an arc that was throughout those 3 movies, but it's not the same thing as what Endgame did. I think they're just too different. And Endgame, part of it was like it was a lot more movies. I mean, it was 22 movies, multiple franchises coming together, and it was all about all these characters showing up in a way that was just very, very different. So Endgame did a lot more stuff that Return of the Jedi didn't do. Return of the Jedi had a very true arc to it, with a character that was more pointed with Anakin. And even it's even the way that you would interpret Return of the Jedi now would be very different the way that it would be interpreted then, because we didn't have the prequels when it originally came out. Only 2 when it came out, so 1.5 when it came out. So I wouldn't draw that comparison, no. Rich Reviews. Well, I did watch and review the 4-part Jeffrey Epstein Filthy Rich. To me, it's the equivalent to an extended episode of Dateline. Also makes you want to get a shower afterwards. Yeah, I would assume so. I would imagine that would be a pretty gross one to watch. Yeah. Landon, what are your thoughts on Ruby Rose leaving Batwoman? Do you think she will be recast, or do you think the show would be canceled? I mean, everything I've heard sounds like they're just going to recast it. That's what everything I've heard. What do I think about it? It just puts everyone in a pretty bad light. It sounds like and everyone's known this, but the workload for the lead of a CW superhero show is too much. It's too demanding because you have to be CW pretty, CW in shape, and you have to be on set for almost every single scene because you're the lead of the show. And that it just grinds through these people. And so if you're not in your 20s and single when you start, it's gonna eat you up. And Stephen Amell, Tom Welling, Michael Rosenbaum have all said all of this. But at the same time, Ruby Rose signed up for it. She signed up for it. So I don't think you can be like give her a pass and be like, oh, they were just wrong. They just wronged her. No, she signed up for it. So it just doesn't put anyone in a good light. WE, what's your favorite Bruce Lee film? Enter the Dragon. I think it's the one that's the most accessible. His like there's some great action in I don't know. The titles are even kind of confusing. The one that is the Chinese Connection, the one that's not about the drug smugglers, but his second big starring vehicle. There's some great stuff in that, but the plots aren't really, they're kind of clunky with the scripts, whereas Enter the Dragon is a lot slicker, and it showcases his skills. And I rewatched Enter the Dragon, I think 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago. Bought it because it was on sale on Vudu. Cody Case, what's your favorite comic book movie pre-2000? I mean, I have a video with my favorite comic book movies of all time. So that's my top 10. And so there's a video that'll give you your answer to that. So I don't know if I want to spoil the video for you, but the number one on the list is pre-2000. So yeah, there you go. You have a homework assignment. Check out Sean Chandler's top 10 comic book movies of all time. And so you'll get to get answer to your question there. Adam Grunther, are there any videos that you were going to make but decided not to because it was too hard? There's different ways you can interpret it. Like I have it, like I put on my schedule how to fix Attack of the Clones it's like 6 weeks ago, and I just couldn't get it written in time. And it's just tough because I'm trying to like keep momentum on my channel. And they're not big hit videos, my how to fix ones. They do good enough, but they're not doing great. And so the time they take is not proportional to the views that they get. And so I'm just trying to block the time to get it done. It just hasn't happened yet. So in that sense, that one was too hard, and so I haven't done that one. Other ones, like I was going to do rank the Leprechaun movies, but I just decided I couldn't do it with integrity. I don't want my rankings to either be me putting on a show pretending I like something I don't, or me crapping on a franchise that someone really enjoys. I want to be able to celebrate movies. So even if I only like the number one on the list and the next 5 I hate, I could do that. But the Leprechaun movies, I was like, I don't like any of these, and so I don't want to do this. David Patterson, and my favorite Scorsese movie. I've only seen 7 of mine is surprisingly Raging Bull, even though I don't care for boxing. Crime is my favorite genre. I haven't watched enough of them in a close enough period of time and I'm not like a big Scorsese guy the way a lot of other people are to be able to really pick one that I think is a real answer. I mean, people ask me all the time my favorite, and I normally say Taxi Driver. That's the last one I watched. Maybe the last one I watched. Maybe I watched The Irishman. I don't remember the exact time. Doesn't matter. Think I watched, Taxi Driver, then Irishman. So Irishman is the last one I watched. So I can't really give you a satisfying answer that I would stand by because I really would need to watch them to give a more definitive answer. Artish, have you seen Troy? What do you think of it? Yeah, absolutely. All of those kind of period piece, epic war type movies like that they used to be a little bit more prevalent. Braveheart, Gladiator, Troy, different countries, different periods. But all those types of movies, I enjoy them. Of those 3 that I just met, even The Patriot, because they're the next. Of those ones, Troy's probably my least favorite of the batch. I never connected with it quite as much. Haven't rewatched it as much, but I still enjoy the movie and that type of like big sweeping, epic battle films. I'm seeing a super muscular Brad Pitt swinging a sword, cool stuff. Gameran, I might have to change my mind about putting Smallville season 5 over season 4 because the last few episodes where Clark breaks up with Lana and turns to Lex are stupid. And season 4 has an amazing finale. Season 5 finale is very messy. Besides, couldn't Lex be too old for Lana? Just wait for the next season. Yeah, I mean, I think they're both a little bit messy in that regard. Which favorite? Like, you don't need to re-ask questions. If I don't get to a question, I haven't gotten to it yet. But I'm going through them in order, or I'll tell you if I'm not going to answer it. But I'm going through them in order. Richard Reviews. So, what will happen if theaters don't reopen until sometime in 2021? I don't know, because I don't. You think about stuff like that, and what putting putting a business, or suspending a business's ability to do business for that long, even if you have cash reserves, that's a lot of people out of work. That's a lot of bills to pay. That's that seems like a lot of theater chains going out of business to me. That's what it feels like, because no revenue for that almost a year is brutal. And all the revenue that they did have for this year was 3 slow months. Like you think about, like we did not have like a big blockbuster this year thus far. We've had some movies that were hit, they were profitable, but nothing that was like a knock it out of the park, really drawing in huge crowds. Matt K, have you ever seen Prison Break? First scene especially is excellent. I haven't. I've tried a few episodes, but it didn't connect with me. Maybe I need to give it another try. Landon, what should I expect going into Breaking Bad season 4? Some of the best television of all time. I mean, it does not let up at all from here on out to the end of the show. It does not let out. It's almost like this, in a good sense, it like makes you sick to your stomach as you're watching all of it, because you're just so nervous about everything that happened. You're like, oh no, oh, for the whole rest of the show from here on out. Movie lover, I love Jaws, but I've never seen the sequels. Are they worth my time? No, they're not. The second one is like more of the same kind of thing. Same city. The Shark Returns is another adventure. So if you just want more Jaws stuff, maybe check it out. The third one, it's just stupid, dumb fun. Like a total schlock. It's got Dennis Quaid and Leah Thompson is the leads in it. So it's kind of fun for me for that reason, but it's not good. And then the fourth one is just a terrible film. Artist, have you checked out HBO Max? Yeah, I mean, I have had HBO Now for a while, or on and off. I sign up for HBO Now whenever a new show kind of comes out that I want to check out. And so just by default, I got upgraded to it. So I've had it. It's not very interesting to me because there's not a bunch of exclusives on launch that are like, oh, wow, I got to check this out. So it's like, okay, I have this archive of things that I'm not going to watch right now. So I've watched Beware of the Batman on it. That's literally it. Beware of the Batman, the terrible Batman show from 10 years ago. David Patterson, I'm going to show my 22-month-old half-brother Pulp Fiction. That's an interesting life choice. But Jesse Demon, ever since I started watching you over 2 years ago, I've been trying to understand movies more. One thing I struggle with is anything with plot lines, plot points. I'm a slow learner. I'm not sure what you don't understand about plots. But hope you learn. Christian Arnold, have you seen Cheers? Yeah. I mean, I grew up during the era where Cheers was like the most popular show on television. So, I kind of grew up with it on in the background or seeing episodes here and there. It's not one of the shows that I've chosen to watch a lot of as an adult or anything like that, though. So it's not something that's a big part of my life. Richard, tonight I put up my review for The Vast of Night and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's film 7,500. Very cool. Very cool. WWE, what's your favorite director's cut film? Richard Donner Cut? Richard Donner Cut is probably the one that it's both for a movie I grew up, have a ton of nostalgia for, always loved, and then that there's a true director's cut. Not let's add some extra scenes in, not we needed to shave 5 minutes for the runtime to get it where we wanted it. It's legitimately a different director finished the movie. It's a very cool thing to exist. Gamerman, after Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. gets out of Villain of the Week plot lines in season 1, it gets better, and now would be the perfect time for you to watch since you and Arrowverse are not getting along. Yeah, kind of, but it's also 100 episodes. That's always going to be the problem. It's 70 hours just to catch up on it. And, maybe I've got a little window right here. I might have a few months before. I don't know. Maybe I have the whole rest of the year until movies start coming out. I mean, I don't really know. But it's just tough for reasons. It's like to dedicate that much time to a show that I just didn't care for. It's tough to justify. Adam, what are your thoughts on the Doctor Who franchise? If you check out my hot takes video, the extra one here on Patreon from 3-4 days back, there I talk about Doctor Who in there. I think that happened. Pretty sure that happened. But I've never been a fan. I watched series 1 and didn't care for it, and then I watched Torchwood series 3 and liked that a good bit more, but still wasn't something I was like, man, I got to keep watching more of this. So, and everyone tells me, here, start with series 2 or start with series 5 or with different doctors, and maybe someday I will, but it hasn't happened yet. And I think what I talked about in the video is that my son has showed some interest in it because some of the YouTubers he watches have talked about it. So he might try to check it out to see if he likes it. But there's literally the video from a couple of days where I talked about. Artist, would you consider doing how to fix the Star Wars sequel trilogy as a whole? Yeah, I mean, I've written notes. I already kind of know what I would do. I've already outlined how I would fix The Force Awakens, which were more minor fixes because in general I'm okay with that film. And then there'd be some pretty big squishing and mixing of Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. But I've already written notes on it. Jack, have you ever read Jurassic Park? Yeah, it's great. It really is great. It's an example of a great book, a great movie adaptation, and them being great complements, great examples of what you can do with each format, where the book has more detail, it has more plot lines, it has more science, but it really still works as an edge of your seat page turner. And then the movie, of course, is just a fantastic adventure itself. But I loved the book. Landon, the reason you don't like Game of Thrones is the same reason I don't like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, so I get it. Yeah, and I did that unpopular opinions video and still had people in the comments. Like I literally had this is a comment I read today. So it goes, I mean, if you don't like Game of Thrones just because of the content and you're not into that, it just kind of means you're a pussy. Literally, that's a quote. That was the quote. Not just being crass, not just saying something. That's a quote that someone wrote, and I was like, this is the crap why I'm not even interested in trying to watch it. I'm not going to enable an idiot like that that can't respect that some people don't want to watch rape. I mean, like just trying to imagine writing something, seeing the world that way. And I've had comments like that. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is. Like, it's not a big. People make me mad. What book am I currently reading? Let me see what I'm doing. I just finished Retired Inspired by Chris Hogan. Right now, I'm on the Innovation Stack from Jen McKelvey. The Next Big Idea Group recommended it, so I'm checking it out. So I can have a great innovation stack. All right. I'm probably going to speed up on answering some of these questions because we're at that hour mark and I've still about 10 minutes behind. Gabriel, I think I might like Felicity Smoke better than Lana because Felicity getting mad at Olive for not telling her about having a child is stupid, but Lana did to Clark is crossing the line. Yeah, I don't know what it is with these shows of not knowing what to do with girls and not making them the worst. In behaving so irrationally and crossing lines is frustrating. But I don't know if you saw the comment on your Blu-ray haul video, but today I picked up a bunch of other Blu-rays today. Kung Fu Panda 1 through 3, How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2, Solo, Rogue One, and Warrior. Woo! Picked up a ton of stuff. I'm watching through I think next Saturday's video is the Kung Fu Panda movies ranked. I think that'll be next Saturday. Then a couple weeks after that'll be the Shrek movies. But I watched 1 and 2 of Kung Fu Panda for the first time over the last few days. Good man, following up on what I told you last week on Tim Story's Tom and Jerry, I did more research. He will also be doing a Flintstones, Wacky Racers, and Jetsons movies. All will be in live action. I don't know. That seems like I'm not quite sure what this is referring to, but seems unlikely that one person would have that many projects in the works all at once. Because that's 4 movies, so I'd be a little bit skeptical about that. WWE Anime in Infinity War, when Thor came to Wakanda, how did he know he will go to Wakanda? He never Black Panther, nor the place. This is a minor plot hole. He's a smart guy. He's very, very wise. Jack, have you ever seen the Forbidden Kingdom with Jet Li and Jackie Chan? What do you think about it? Actually, I haven't. I've never seen that one. I know what you're talking about. I just, by chance, I've just missed it. Christian Arnold, Sean, I get to go to a drive-in movie tonight. I'm so excited. It's an experience. I don't know if you've ever been to one before, if that you're just saying you're excited about it because you haven't been to the movies in a while. But it's an interesting little experience. It can be frustrating. It can be a lot of fun. It's a little bit of all of it, especially once you know how to do them properly, and how to go prepared for them. They can be a lot of fun. If you know not knowing what to expect, or if there's technical issues or something, then they can be frustrating. WWE, will tomorrow's movies ranked include the Fast and Furious movies? No. I list off the franchise when I kind of promoted it. So Fast and Furious is not one of the ones. Gamerman, when is Lois going to start showing up in more episodes? I don't like how she only shows up in half the season when Lana shows up every episode of the season. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I don't know when she becomes kind of a weekly regular. Ryan Green, have you seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off? So what are your thoughts? Yeah, of course. A very funny, classic comedy of its time period, coming of age story, high school comedy, all that fun stuff. It's not one of the ones that I specifically had deep nostalgia to my childhood for, but I've always enjoyed it when I've watched it. Matthew, have you seen Third Rock from the Sun? It's an underrated sitcom comedy. I don't know anyone who's seen it. It has a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt and John Lithgow. Oh, yeah, and French Stewart as well. Yeah, I mean, that's another one of those ones that was real popular when I was in high school, so I watched a ton of it back in the day. I haven't watched any of it in the last 10 years or so, but like to me, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is still the guy from Third Rock from the Sun and 10 Things I Hate About You. Because that's, oh, look, the guy from Third Rock from the Sun is in this high school rom-com, 10 Things I Hate About You. Those are like the memories of me. And then like 10 years later, he starts showing up in Inception. Like, whoa, this guy's got a career again. Pretty cool. That's, but yeah, I mean, I watched a lot of it back in the day. Not so much recently, but back in the day. Gamer Man, what do you think is the best season in Arrowverse? For me, it's Arrow season 2. I know you haven't seen all, but only Arrow and Flash have the better season. Right. I mean, I haven't seen all the seasons, but like I haven't watched the other shows because I didn't enjoy them as much. So I would by default think they're of course not in the conversation. So then it's like Flash season 1 and 2 versus Arrowverse season 1 and 2. I think I would go with if I'm taking one to a desert island, I would take Arrow season 1. That's the one that kind of the nature of it, where he's a little bit more vigilante. The original setup for the show, where people don't know who he is, and you're kind of seeing the origin story. I think that's the one that I just by default I go with. Gamerman, as bad as Arrow season 4 is, the ending had a good enough setup where the team left him. He would start working alone again, but season 5 ruined that. Since we kind of knew the show wasn't ending, it didn't really feel satisfying to me because it felt like a fake happy ending. It felt like, and he'll live happy ever after. I mean, until the first episode of the next season. So we're immediately going to undo this. And those are kind of frustrating finales where it feels like, I know you're going to immediately undo this. So why would I be invested in what you're doing right now? Like, why would I care if you're not going to stick with it? And so then that's where, to me, where I never really felt all that satisfying. And I'd been so frustrated with everything they did with Felicity that season that it's tough to be like, oh, I'm glad the two of them are together, though I don't like them right now. Rich review. So I guess network TV is going to acquire Canadian and British TV shows in order to fill the gap so that there is something on there on television. I hadn't heard that, but I don't watch network television, so it wouldn't mean too much to me. But Steven, I'm not sure how impressive an opinion this is of yours on your channel, but what about how you rank Spider-Man 1 over Spider-Man 2? Yeah, I get a lot of. I mean, you can normally tell. And some of my rankings, I know when I'm giving an unpopular opinion or going to step on some people's toes, because I'll literally have a little disclaimer in the middle of it where I go, now I'm not saying, now I'm about to put a movie you love lower. I know that I'm about to step into the danger zone, and I want to try and do a little bit to cut it off. I'll call it out before it happens. Never works. People still get mad at me, but I do what I can. But yeah, absolutely. That's one that people get mad at me about. Richard, his thoughts on Amazon doing the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. I haven't read the books. I haven't seen any of the versions of any of the films, so I'm not familiar with it. So I really don't have an opinion other than to say that I think they've got a pretty good track record of adapting books into TV shows, so it's probably a good fit. Gamerman, well, Sean, it's been a good one. I hope to come back to your Patreon later this year. Have a good summer. I will continue to support you on YouTube. I explained my reasons in a Facebook message. Hey, no worries. Totally understand. But one more thing happened. Had another small of the week on my Twitter. If you want to be a part of it, Gamerman X 9000, Kent Queen Hall of Justice. I'll see what I can do if I can remember that, since I'm still answering some questions out here. Cookie favorite actor of The Flash. I mean, I think we only got 3. Ezra Miller is last. I grew up on the John Wesley Shipp show, so I'm certain partial to it. But I think you got a little bit more there with Grant. A little bit, they're able to be truer to the comics and tell more stories. He's had more time in it, and even the wacky stuff they've done, where I've been frustrated at times, they haven't really hurt the character too much of Barry Allen. So I think I would have to go with Grant, despite the fact that my heart wants to say John Wesley Shipp. Adam, what are your top 3 favorite John Hughes movies? I mean, there's another one I have to look up. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles certainly would be one of them. I guess it kind of depends on if we're talking about just scripts or if we're talking about ones he directed. I'm going to throw scripts in there too. So then I'd probably go with Vacation, National Lampoon's Vacation, and Home Alone. But yeah. So those are Just even fair warning about Shrek movies. 1 and 2 are great. 3 and 4 are something. Yeah, I've heard. That's what I've heard, and I don't even know that. I doubt I'll think that Shrek 1 and 2 are great. Matthew K. saw Birds of Prey way back combo with the drive-in last night. Birds of Prey had great action. The way back was emotional. Very, very true. WWE, coming off my question, why are you not including Fast and Furious? It is action movies. I mean, I'm not including a lot of things. I'm not including the Terminator movies either. So I mean, I guess I don't understand the question. For that matter, I didn't invent the list. I went along with my buddies who were doing it. They asked me if I wanted to join in. They picked the list. They're street racing movies at their core, much more than they're action movies. I mean, they became action movies. They started out as car racing movies. Like there's a ton of things we could have put in there that, so it's kind of those questions. It's a little bit like, I just put a ton of effort into something, and before I've even posted it, you're unhappy and disappointed with what I did. So it's a frustrating question. Ethan, I think Arrow season 5 ending was great, but season 6 really ruined it because nobody the characters really cared about died. If they had killed like Felicity, it would have made it more impactful. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people loved season 5. I was never as big on it as a bunch of other people. Jack, will you post a full Space Force review? I don't know. I need to look at my schedule. I mean, maybe I will. I look at where I'm at on everything, what I'm looking to post, because people really want me to finish these Flash videos, and so maybe I won't have time, but maybe I will. Some of it's tricky because if you don't drop it right at the right point in time, it doesn't really matter. So. Adam, what are your thoughts on Mel Brooks? Obviously, comedic legend. I've never been someone that was like gigantic on his movies. I've enjoyed several of the ones that I've seen, had some fun with them, but they're not movies that I personally go back and rewatch a lot. But just even final comment from you before you wrap this up. The thing about the plot that I didn't understand in movies is a specific plot. It's in the movie is the specific plot itself. Like what is like do you mean what the specific plot like when you say the plot, you're normally talking about what that through line is that's driving the action of the story. So the plot of the Terminator is that a killer machine from the future is sent back in time to kill a girl before her son is able to be the resistance, and a human is sent back to stop the Terminator. That's the plot of the movie. Rambo, when a group of missionaries go into Burma, they are captured and Rambo goes in to rescue them. So it's that central, how would you sum it up in a sentence? Some movies that's easier than other movies. Some movies it's more complicated and it's not as clear cut, but it's what is the obstacle that our characters have to overcome? What is the conflict in front of them? Character plus conflict equals plot, something like that. Procrastinators, have you watched Defending Jacob? No, I haven't been able to watch any of it yet. Jack, are you considering doing any watch parties with your subscribers? I haven't recently. I have before. It's something I have done before. They're a little bit weird for me. I think it's been a year since I last did one with my patrons, and over a year since I last did one on my main channel. Maybe I've been saying I need to experiment. There's a bunch of these little things I want to experiment with, but then time just disappears really quickly. Like I'm both trying to put out some videos that are just surefire hits to make sure that the YouTube engine is still working for me, and then trying to put out some content that still find things to review. And so I'm trying to do like a bunch of different things and some experiments and some things I wouldn't normally be able to do. And immediately my month is gone. Like I already mapped out June and my month is gone, and doesn't have Space Force on there. And it doesn't have like a watch party, and it doesn't have a bunch of things. I'm like, oh man, I'd love to do a bunch of that stuff. And it doesn't have some of these how to fix videos that we've been talking about in here. So the time just disappears really fast. So it's tricky for a bunch of different reasons like that. So hopefully, I mean, maybe I just need to lock in a date to do one and do a poll on my channel and see what people want to watch. Something that's not like on Netflix that everybody has access to, and just go for it. But and then do one on Patreon as well. I have my patrons. I have like 3-4 times as many as I had the last time I did one of these, and so it probably would even work a little bit better. But I did one on here where I think I did A Quiet Place, and there's like 3 of us in there. It was like 3 people. And so it was like, okay, this isn't a good perk. This isn't a good little bonus for Patreon. If only 3 people are joining in, I need to find something better to do. So anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in, supporting me here for another month on Patreon. It really, especially right now, while no new movies are coming out, the companies aren't spending ad money on YouTube. It really has kind of helped me out a good bit on, with the YouTube channel. It's filled things out, and it's become like a real nice like community here and a place to talk movies. Oh, we got a couple more questions coming right at the end. Do you have a Switch? Yes, I have a Switch. I've reviewed the Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. It's a Switch game. So I even have some Switch reviews on my channel, or at least one Switch review on my channel. But yeah, basically, I mean, I have it also largely because I have kids. Gamerman, in case you forgot, Gamerman X9000, Kent, Queen Justice, very cool. I'll do what I can. Inception would be a great watch party. Maybe we'll see. I'll put up some polls to see what I can make happen. Maybe that's what I'll even do real quick. I have to shoot a video for you guys. I mean, I shot my 31 on 31, the ranking for the main channel, but I have an exclusive for you guys where I actually rank the specific franchises. And so I haven't shot that one yet. So as soon as I end on here, I got to shoot that, but maybe I'll put up a poll, to put up some, or maybe final question. You probably get asked about this, but you could rank the season. Could you rank the seasons of Friends or the 6 main Friends characters? Probably not. Anytime it's like, hey, can you rank this TV show? To do that, I have to watch the whole show. There's 10 seasons of Friends. There's 20 episodes per season. That's 200 episodes. That's like 120 hours of my life to do 2 videos. And every time I do a video like that, it turns into somebody goes, oh, he ranks sitcoms. Can you do Seinfeld? Oh, can you do How I Met Your Mother? Oh, can you do Brooklyn 999? And I can't do there. It's tough to do one of those, let alone all of those. And so every time I do one, it just opens the door for people to want me to do more. And that's where it just becomes very difficult to do. Matthew, thank you for doing this. Respond to everyone. Have a great day. Talk to you later. See you next week. Bye-bye.